Hey, just a quick one today, just a quick verse. You may have noticed that this is completely unedited with the previous one that I did. I am not interested in trying to impress anybody. This is literally just me trying to get things off my mind, out of my heart. And the Bible does say that out of the mouth cometh the issues of the heart. So I'm speaking these things in order to kind of get out what's in my heart. And one of the verses that came to mind this morning when I was praying, because I've been going through a tribulation now for close to a year, the hardest tribulation in my entire life, for close to a year now. And one of the verses that came to mind was this Romans 8:28, which a lot of people like to use this verse, but there's a couple of qualifications there that we need to pay attention to when using this verse. So the verse says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them who love God, to them who are called according to his purpose." And we'll say, in the Christianisms, we'll be like, oh, all things are going to work together for my good. All things are going to work together. Well, yeah, as long as, one, you love God. Now, I mentioned in a previous video that loving God means obeying God. That's his definition for love. So when God says do something, if you can read clearly in the Word that God says to do something, then do it. That's obedience, and that's loving God. When God says not to do something, don't do it. Like when he says flee fornication, for example, then just don't do it. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not take my name in vain. These are things that God says don't do. Literally, having the will in our heart not to do those things is equal to loving God. Because we're following, we're obeying him. That is his definition for love in the Old Testament that I read. And of course, Jesus himself said, "If ye love me, keep my commandments." There you go. And then the second part is, are you called according to his purpose? Well, a lot of people think of calling as, well, you have to be a preacher, you have to be a minister or a missionary or whatever. No, I'm a father. That makes me called according to God's purpose. I'm a husband. That makes me called according to God's purpose. I'm a church member. That makes me called according to God's purpose. So I have callings that I need in my life, that I have in my life that God has called me to do. And that's his purpose. And therefore, as long as I love him, meaning I obey him, and to the best of my ability, my will has to be for the purpose of obedience to God. That's the same thing as loving God. That's in the Old Testament. You can find that, and like I said, it's also where Jesus said in John. But my will has to be to obey God, and I'm already called to according to his purpose. So all things are going to work together for my good, especially in the place of my marriage, in the place of my family, in the place of my in the place of my church, my church membership. All things are going to work together for my good as long as I love Him, as long as I obey Him. And my will is to obey Him. And I'm called according to His purposes. Now, the truth is, one of the problems I'm having right now is in my marriage. That's my tribulation. And the truth is, the reason I'm having those problems is because I wasn't obeying God. My will was not to obey God. It wasn't necessarily to disobey God. But my will was not perfect toward God. And that's caused things not to work together for my good within my marriage. And now it's in limbo. And it looks bleak. It looks bad. But God has brought me to a place through this that now I understand what loving God looks like. And my will is to love God. My will is to obey. Even if I never get back what I lost. So, these are just my thoughts. Hope it helps somebody. Love you.